Yeah, so today we've got a small skirmish game of Battlegroup, Germans versus British, probably set somewhere in Market Garden, so loosely based on 30 Corps making their way up the road, as you can see just here. So that would be the main road, the British objective to get as many armoured units as possible off this side of the board here. And the British entry point will be down there. So, yeah, let's say very, very small scale game, this one. It's basically like squad level. The British force is considerably larger, and they'll have a number of tanks where the Germans don't. So the Germans will be ambushing the British as they come on. Germans already deployed. As you can see, we've got a little Pack 40 down here. It's transport just there, so that's ready to sort of ambush any armoured units coming up that road. We've also got some German infantry in that dugout there, and in the building we have a Panzergrenadiers and an MG32. Then we've got in this building just in front of you here another Panzergrenadier force. We've got a bunker just down the way here, another dugout. So that's got a little mortar unit in there. Then we've got, so that's a medium mortar, sorry. And we have the command for the Germans just here. So he's ready to spot for that mortar. Also in the woods here, we've got another MG32. So yes, that's the German setup. How this is going to work is each turn the British are going to roll a dice to see how many units come on the entry point there. And basically they've got to come in on the roads. They're not expecting an ambush. Their break point is considerably higher as well than the Germans. The Germans' break point is actually at 13, so very low indeed. And the British will be at 25, so quite a bit more. Okay, well, I'm going to pause it here, and I'm going to come back to you after the first turn. Okay, so first turn, British turn, quite an interesting one. So they managed to get 6 units on the table. So you can see that they had to come up the road here. The first one in was actually the Daimler, so the wee armoured car there. That, as you can see, is now pinned. So I'll just take this up for a sec. Oh. So yeah, this Daimler here came in and was then immediately ambushed by this Pack 40. So the Pack 40 managed to get 2 shots off. Unfortunately, it spotted twice, and then when rolling to hit, only hit it once. And then only needing a 3 on 2 dice to penetrate the armour. The Pack 40 is quite a powerful gun, particularly against the Daimler there, but only managed to roll to equal the armour value. So it actually only pinned that armoured car there. So that was fairly disappointing for the Germans there. They popped their ambush and just managed to pin an armoured car. In turn, then the bulk of the British forces came on, so this Cromwell on the road here moved up once. They're pretty fast, those Cromwells, the old cruiser tanks, and let loose a HE round into the Pack 40, which, as you can see, it killed one of the crew members, and actually they failed their morale, and basically they're now pinned down. So not ideal for the Germans, as that's their only real threat against these armoured units at this sort of range. Then the half-tracks moved in, the British half-tracks moved in. The one at the back, basically the infantry disembarked that squad there, so they're taking cover behind all these armoured units. The second Cromwell moved up twice off-road to sort of like spread the forces out a little bit, and it's probably it's a fairly safe bet that there's enemy troops in that building, which of course there is. So he's going to move towards them, see what's going on there. This German infantry unit, popped an ambush on that front half track to try and pin it down. Unfortunately, it was unsuccessful. The rounds just bouncing off the armour there. They weren't close enough to use their Panzerfaust either, and to be fair, they probably want to say that for the tanks. Also, the half track at the front, in turn, when it moved up, instead of disembarking its troops, fired back at that unit to try and pin them down, but was also unsuccessful. So that's where we stand at turn 1, Allied turn 1. Now we'll move on to the German response. Okay, so we're back again. That was a pretty interesting turn. So first of all, the Germans rolled for their orders and rolled a 1. So they had 2 orders to spend, because they do have a command unit on the table. So with the Germans' first command, what they did was they attempted to unpin the Pak 40, which they successfully did by taking a chit. Unfortunately, that chit was a 4, so a fairly high number. With their second order, the Pak 40 then fired again. So the first shot on this half track at the front there, which you can see was a successful hit, knocking out the half track there. The British then had to pull a chit for the half track, and luckily for them, they drew air attack. So at the start of their next round, they can potentially bring in a aircraft to strafe the Germans. The troops that were in that half track had to then disembark. They lost 1 man in the explosion, and they're now pinned down as well. The second shot went onto this Cromwell, but unfortunately didn't hit. It missed and fired wide. So he's feeling a bit safe there. So that was German turn 1. Like I say, all they managed to do was unpin the Pak 40 and fire and take out that half track. So I'll be back after British turn 2. So yeah, this battle is starting off slowly, it's got to be said. So the British managed to bring in their last unit, which is that half track currently behind the Cromwell there. That still has its troops embarked. So yeah, the British rolled a 1 for orders as well, and with their officer that came to 2. So yeah, it spent 1 order bringing that half track off the table there to hide behind that Cromwell. The second one was to move this Cromwell up and attempt to pin the MG40, so it opened up with both its Bowser machine guns, Beezer, sorry. So yeah, they only needed a 3 to pin this pack down, but rolled a 2. So those Germans get loading those rounds ready to fire next turn, I wager. So that's the end of British turn 2. So we'll move on to German turn 2. Oh, also to mention, the British aircraft did not come in. You've got to roll a 5 up for the plane to come in. So unfortunately for them, they didn't get the air support either. Okay, so that was our German turn. So a few things happened here. So first of all, the Germans managed to get 5 orders, which was pretty good. With the first one, they fired Pak 40 here directly into that Cromwell. As you can see, nothing happened. He spotted it without a problem. It's an automatic spot once for a vehicle in the open that's firing or fired the previous turn. But clearly the last turn's machine gun fire put the willies in these chaps, and they managed to miss both shots at point blank. So yeah, they're in a bit of trouble now. Then the German command just down here, he put a spotter round down on that half track for the mortar just here. So yeah, he managed to call it in fine enough, but the shot scattered wildly. Rolled a 1 on the spotter round, which meant it moved all the way over here, basically where this tree is. So he called off the bombardment. Obviously, he didn't want to hit his own men in this vicinity here. After which, the Germans then pushed forward the Panzerschreck from this building and managed to get a lucky hit on that Cromwell and knocked it out. So the British had to take a chip for that, and that was also a 4. So generally, so far, it's been pretty poor rolling across the board, but pretty high chick numbers. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next. Oh wait, before I forget. Also, the German machine gun here opened up on the British infantry behind that half track. As you can see, there's not quite as many left as there was. So the Germans opened fire twice, managing to knock out 5 members of that team. The British then passed their morale check with rolling a 6, so they then went to roll for their Beyond Call of Duty test and also succeeded, and in so doing fired back at the Germans to try and pin this machine gun team down, but unfortunately for them, the cover of the trees managed to save the Germans there. So yeah, they're looking a bit sticky now. So we'll move on to the next British turn. Okay, so that's a good round of shooting for the Brits there. So they managed to get a fair few orders, the first of which ordered this Cromwell to fire on the Pack 40 that was in this woods there. So it fired its last HE round, which killed one of the crew members, and the machine gun finished off the rest. So the Germans had to pull a chip for that and pulled a 2. Then these infantry that were on the road here pushed up into the forest, so they're going to attempt to try and take this building and put some pressure on this German flank there. Then we had the half-track move up, and as it was moving up, was blasting away its 50 cal at this the MG unit that was in the forest there. And completely annihilated it. There was some hot rolling from that half track, just wiped out that MG position. Then, because of that, the Germans then had to pull another chit, so they're currently on 8 at the moment. So not too far off breaking. Then the Brits had a bit of a disaster over here. So the half track moved up and disembarked its troops. The troops then attempted to pin this unit down in the dugout here and then charge them. However, they failed to spot when it came to... they didn't try to pin them down. They tried to actually aim fire these guys and failed to spot. Then with the charge, they failed their... basically, they have to... Units before they charge have to check whether they're ready to go in, whether that's down to morale or they just can't see the opponent or whatever. So clearly these Germans have got their heads down because these Brits failed both attempts, and they're sort of like swinging in the wind there at the moment. So that's that. So yeah, currently the Brits, I think they're going to get this. I mean, the Germans are on 8 breakpoints and the Brits are on 7. So yeah, not and considering the Brits have a break point of 25 to the Germans 13, I think I'm not too sure about this one. So we'll go into the next German turn. So we're back after the German turn. Once again, we rolled a 1 for orders, so 2 orders for the Germans. Didn't start off well either. The MG gun in here failed to spot the unit that was here twice. They rolled 2 1s again. Rolling 1s like nothing else, I tell you. So failed to spot that unit, but as you can see, it's not there anymore. And that's because this unit here fired twice on that unit, completely wiping it out to a man. So the Brits pulled a chit, and it's only a 1. So clearly, that squad wasn't particularly liked by the rest of the Brits. So also the Panzerfaust fired at the half track and missed completely, rolling another 1. So that fired wide, and now that unit doesn't have a Panzerfaust. So The only anti-tank I now have on the table is that Panzerschreck and another Panzerfaust in this building here. So yeah, it's looking pretty grim for the Germans, but we're going to go into the next British turn. Right, so the Allied turn, they rolled, I think it's about 4 orders that they ended up getting 5 with their officers. So this half-track moved up, failed to spot these guys, so it moved up and then attempted to gun the German command down, but failed to spot them. So these Germans must be sort of like getting ready to jump back in their Hanamag there. Then the British infantry over here pushed through the woods, then tried to pin down the German unit in there, but was unable to. Then we had the half-track over here, pushed up and wiped out they killed one member of the Panzerschreck group, and the other one unfortunately failed his morale check, which meant he was pinned, and single-man units that are pinned basically rout. So he was counted as destroyed. Then pulled another chit, and it was another 4. So now the Germans are literally one off breaking here, so it's not looking good. The writing's on the walls. Then the Cromwell moved up here, attempting to pin the unit that's in this dugout here, but that dugout really is proven to be a difficult position to crack because, they managed to pass their cover save for that pin, so they're all right as well. Although now the Germans only have 1 anti-tank weapon, which is in this building over here, and it's a 1-shot. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's say it's looking pretty grim for the Germans, but we'll go into their next turn now. Okay, so that's the end of the battle actually on the German turn there. So it started off all right. So the command unit here, so they've rolled 7 orders in total with the +1 for command. So they rolled quite well. At which point the command tried to assault the half-track here and failed, losing 1 man. After which the half-track moved up to try and pin this unit down, but also failed. Then the unit in here popped off its Panzerfaust round and took out the half-track. So that was quite a good hit there from the Grenadier unit. In doing that, the British then had to pull a chit in losing their half-track, which came up with ammo low. So ammo low came down on this MG position, rolled a 6, which means that unit now leaves the battlefield. They've ran out of ammo and quit the field, counting as destroyed. And it doesn't matter, well, actually, it does matter what the Germans pull, because if they pull a special counter, they're still in the fight. So let's see what we've got here. So we got a 3. So unfortunately for the Germans, they're now broken, and the Brits are on their way to meet up with the American Airborne. Not without casualties though. Lost a couple of half-tracks. A fair number of men were actually gunned down. So you can see this pile here. Quite a few British casualties. Also lost Cromwell as well, but ultimately a British victory, and that's that. So yeah, if you like this sort of style of batrep, let us know, because they're fairly easy to do, and I'm always happy to have a game of Battlegroup. And unfortunately with the current situation, there's not many people to play with, so you kind of end up getting either doing sort of solo games, which I don't mind. I mean, it keeps the rules fresh, but ultimately it's not the same as gaming with an opponent. So so let us know what you think.